Rinku.
Yes. So, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. I'm Dr. Rinku Verma from Reed Foundation. Reed Foundation stands for Radical and Emerging Approaches for Development Foundation. And I'm highly appreciate for all of you to give the time for this crucial and very important topic, menstruation, dignified menstruation, and ending child marriage. So today we have with us Dr. Radha as a speaker. I want to introduce Radha to everybody. Radha is an author, activist, and lifelong rebel for dignified menstruation. She founded a Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation, and despite experiencing so many threats and challenges, including funding, she initiated the International Day of Dignified Menstruation on 8th December. And since 2019, it has been celebrated on very large scale. And she writes book about dignified menstruation in Nepali and English. She has received national and international recognition and awards for her activism and literary work. She is invited as speaker by universities, form organization, and all around the globe. So thank you, Dr. Radha, for being with us. And I am handing over you the dais, Dr. Radha.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rinku, and namaste and good afternoon. Salam alaikum to everyone who are joining from all around the globe. I saw the friends from Africa too. It's really nice. Even today is the Saturday, and friends are still have energy to work around dignified menstruation. Let me share my presentation. Yes. This is the note I received from the Dr. Rinku about the expectation of the participant. It's all about dignified menstruation, Global South Coalition, and link with the child marriage, and then what could be done in the context of menstruation and child marriage. So, first, let's go through the meditation. I request each of you to sit very comfortably and close your eyes. I requested everyone to sit very comfortably wherever you are, and also request to close your eyes and take a long breath. Please try to find the most liked place or best place for you. It could be your room, park, or anywhere else. Please try to be there and feel the surroundings like music or chirping of the birds or winds or anything. Whatever you like, please try to feel the emotions. And then please start to think about yourself, particularly your childhood. I know it is very difficult to remember your childhood. However, I encourage each of you to go through your childhood. If you have difficulties, let me give one example. If you are 30 years right now, please start to reduce your age, like 29, 28, 27, 26. Keep reducing your age. Keep reducing your age until the age you remember your name, about yourself, your parents, your house. It could be like 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. I repeat again, please reduce your age and try to focus on your childhood memories. And you keep reducing your age. If you are 30 years right now, please reduce your age like 29, 28, 27, 25, and keep reducing your age until the youngest age you remembered about yourself, like your name, your parents, your house. It could be the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe you have already been there. You have already find out or reached that the youngest age in your life. And I also encourage you, no matter about your identity, mensurators or non-mensurators, regardless of your identity, gender identity, I encourage each of you to explore, to identify the moment or the incident where you knew or learned or heard or saw something about menstruation. Here, I am not asking about your menarche or first menstruation. I am not asking. I am asking to identify the very youngest age of your life where you remember, and then also identify the incident where you knew something about menstruation. At the meantime, you also try to remember about how did you know, where did you know, and from whom did you know, and then what was your first reaction or emotions or feelings while knowing something about the menstruation. Let me give example. You may remember the age 4 and you knew something about menstruation from your mother. It could be at home or kitchen, and you may puzzled or confused or scared or fear or excited or happy. So please try to remember the incident where you knew something about menstruation at first in your life, and also try to remember the first reaction or feelings: excited, happy, crying, scared, fear, confused, puzzled, any kind of emotions. Please keep thinking about it. Don't open your eyes unless and until I asked. I believe you already figure out your age, the incident. You knew something about menstruation in a supermarket or in bathroom or in movie, from your aunt, from your sister, from your mom, from your dad, and you may have a feeling of excited, happiness, fear, puzzle, confused. Once you have that information, the details of the incident, please rub your palms, hands, and once it becomes warm, rub your eyes or massage your eyes and gradually or slowly open your eyes. Based on your experience through the meditation, I encourage each of you to write in a chat box. What is, did you learn or knew something about menstruation? Please write the age and the emotions or feelings in chat box. Write your age and first feelings. Example, 5 years and fear. I don't see any message in chat box. Lal, don't they able to write in chat box? Anisa, yes. Thank you. If any of you like to share the story from the meditation, even you can share the story in chat box. 16 fear in school. Thank you. Please keep writing. I see all together 13 participants, so I need at least half percentage of the responses. 5 years. Thank you, Rinku. Joan, Francois, Muralidhar. We receive only 3 information, 3 responses. 13 and my feelings was fear. Hello, Francois, please write your age and the reaction. Okay, let me move on. My slide is not working. Sorry for that. Sometimes if I use the Yes. Let me share my personal story. Exactly as I asked during the meditation. I learned something about menstruation when I was 7 years old from my mother at home. I was scared. I also learned that it was the dirty blood, impure blood, and not allowed to do the regular household chores because of the state of menstruation. And I deeply traumatized. So when I was about 9 years old, I even attempted suicide. But it was a failed attempt, and I keep thinking, praying, begging for stopping my menstruation. And but no one listened my request. Eventually, when I was 14 years old, I had a first menstruation. I ran away from home for 5 days because I did not like to practice as my 3 sisters and mothers were practiced during menstruation. Coincidentally, next year I went to the nursing college and I learned about the menstruation, the physiology, the essence, the importance. Since then, that means since 1992, I started to speak about the dignified menstruation publicly. So I have been working in many organizations in many different capacity, but currently we have been working through the Radha Podal Foundation. It has two wings. In Nepal, we call Dignified Menstruation Campaign Nepal, and at the global level, we have the network called Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation. In both cases, both level, we have been conducting the trainings, webinars, researches, campaigns, publication, and talks programs. We also have a heavily engaged in media from local to global level. You can see the few examples. And as I shared earlier, these books are exclusively on dignified menstruation. Few books have already published in multiple languages, and few are on the way to publish. And in the left side, we contributed the chapter for these books, the chapter on dignified menstruation, and then we also published the menstrual stories and anthology from Global South, and we also developed the training manual on dignified menstruation, and we have already conducted the training at the global level since 2022. So these are the key milestone. We have so many achievements despite all challenges. We have achievement. We like to highlight it a few. Like we submitted the report on 19th session of CEDAW, and this is the on behalf of the Nepal and on behalf of the global community. We submitted the report to the CEDAW committee, which called General Recommendation 41, and we also have already entered or registered the dignified menstruation into encyclopedia, and last March 21st, the National Assembly endorsed the resolution motion on dignified menstruation unanimously. So these are the key milestones, historical milestone, and we also started the day for dignified menstruation for 8th December since 2019. These are the glimpses, and you can get detailed information from the website. And upcoming December 8th will be the 7th International Dignified Menstruation Day, and we will be hosting 3 days physical learning conference. I learned many friends have already registered for participation for speaking as a speaker, as a panelist, so is a workshop facilitation. So if any of you like to join, still there is the deadline will be the July 15. I encourage each of you to apply, and if you have a problem to apply, please share this information across your networks, the social media, and other means. Let me talk about the menstrual discrimination. To understand about the importance of dignified menstruation, we need to understand the menstrual discrimination. Let me share the few examples of the menstrual discriminatory practices from Sri Lanka. These practices we compiled through the series of workshops and trainings we had done in Sri Lanka in 2023, 2024, with various organizations, including the French Embassy in Sri Lanka, World Bank. So you can see the restriction in mobility during menstruation, restriction on food during menstruation. I don't like to go through the details. It is easily available in our website. This is just a gentle reminder. And in Sri Lanka, during menstruation, they cannot touch certain people, certain items, certain vegetables, certain fruits. Likewise, they also experience the health issues related with the menstruation and menopause. And then they also experience the challenges related with the menstrual product and was related issues like toilet, water, and restrooms. So you can see the numbers, the list, and in addition to these practices, these are the practices or comments. So altogether, 155 types of menstrual discriminatory practices we found in 2024 in Sri Lanka. And let's go beyond the Sri Lanka, beyond the South Asia. Let's talk about the menstrual discriminatory practices at the global level. That is study done on behalf of the French government under the project called Sang pour Sang, and it has done across the 9 countries from Asia, Africa, and Caribbean. You see the countries: Benin, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominican Republic, Guinea, Haiti, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Philippines. And then you can see in a graph where 67% respondent define the menstrual blood is dirty or impure. It was just from last year, around November, that research report come out. And then if you see the types of restrictions is we shared from Sri Lanka. See, the attending school, paid or they don't like to participate in school, in paid or in religious activities, in cooking, in going outside, or doing physical exercises or the sports. And then the men consider that women also consider that they are inferior while having the menstruation. You can see the graph. And if you see from the North America or Australia, even there, they are the rich, they are educated. Even there, they don't like to participate in formal or daily activities during menstruation. Likewise, they also have the same feeling of same anxiety, and also don't like to swim or exercise due to fears of leakage or teasing. In Latin America, more or less the same. Are not allowed to have certain food items like milk product, pork, avocado, and also restriction in domestic activities. In Europe, the same. So if you like to get more information, this book, which is shown in the right side of the slide, Dignified Menstruation, a Practical Handbook, will provide the testimonies of 40 countries. And then the same idea, see, in Ghana, not allowed to cross the river. In Burundi, not allowed to take bath or wash the clothes. In Egypt, forbidden to cook food or cassava bread. In Bangladesh, Nepal, 2 different religious identity countries. And in both contexts, they're not allowed to participate. In Latin America, not allowed to eat certain food and fruits. Australia, UK, and Canada, as we shared or discussed earlier, not allowed to or don't like to go out. So here, I humbly request each of you to think about their right to dignity, right to food, right to participation, right to freedom, right to non-discrimination during the menstruation. You may say this is a part of the culture or religion or our pride, but at the meantime, try to see these practices through the lens of human right. And these menstrual practices, as mentioned in earlier research, these practices among the girls and the boys, they feel safe, free, equal before knowing something about menstruation. In our study, in our research, we identified that between 6 to 9 years, the both children, our men, boys and the girls, or menstruators and non-menstruators, knew something about menstruation. When they knew the menstruators, when they knew something about menstruation, they started to feel unsafe, insecure, inferior, controlled, powerless. And when they have menarche or first menstruation, their confidence is really decreased, and they feel inferior, disadvantaged, powerless within themselves and within the family and society. Meanwhile, the same age non-menstruators feel continuously safe, free, equal, powerful, superior, privileged, and they don't have any issue. Here, those who are familiar with the notion of power relationship and patriarchy, there are so many power theories. And to us, to Global South Coalition, power construct and socialize through the menstrual practices, discriminatory menstrual practices. Not only the power relations, the patriarchy also construct, reinforce because of it. So I believe you all know about the sexual and gender-based violence defined by UN in 1993, and it has a 4 category. So if you put these practices, which we have already discussed from Sri Lanka, from 9 countries, from Asia and Africa, Latin America, and then entire globe, see, at least more than 3 types of violence they have constantly experiencing because of the menstruation. If any menstruators have to sleep in separate place, this is the physical violence, emotional violence, could be associated with the sexual violence and deprivation from the resources and services. But we never think in that lens. So here let's see through the lens of the human rights principles. We all know since 1948, the global community talk about human rights, dignity, equality, freedom, non-discrimination, right to shelter, right to food, right to health, right to education. And if the same example, if a menstruators not allowed to cross the river or not allowed to take a bath or not allowed to eat the food age or waste, where is the human right? So while practicing the menstrual related practices, more than 2 types of human rights are violating constantly, and it is not only one time. How many times in a at least 5 days of the bleeding and throughout the life cycle? In average, about 8 years, their rights are violating directly and indirectly through the theory of the power construction. Their powers is their rights are violating throughout the life cycle. So eh, this is the menstrual discrimination construct the power relation and the patriarchy that has an implication in all aspects of the individual, and it goes throughout life cycle. It's like a nerve in our body. In many countries, sex selective abortion is still common. It's not because of the poverty or the ignorance. It's because they don't value the girl child because they menstruate. The girl child considered the inferior, disadvantaged, powerless, and no one liked to have it. Most of the people, those who did the sex abortion, they don't like to have it. And so In this given scenario, the menstrual discrimination is not a single act or event. It is a ranges of practices, includes silence, taboos, shyness, stigma, restriction, abuses, violence, deprivation from resources and services. It has been practicing all over the world in different names. It is already reported more than 5,000 euphemism. Euphemism means the indirect way to call for menstruation, like unflow, like moon cycle, even period. They have a different names, different forms. Some are visible, some are not visible. Some are easily identified, some are not. But there are the practices all around the globe. And as we discussed earlier, it has a significant role for power construction and reinforcement of the patriarchy since childhood, and it has been going throughout the life and created the vicious circle. And because of that, it has impact in all aspects, including the climate crisis, child marriage. So menstrual discrimination is not linear. It is very dynamic, very complex, and multifaceted. It's a violation of the human right, violation of the sexual and gender-based violence. So in this connection, the menstrual discrimination is an issue, is a problem. It is not addressed by the gender equality framework or JC framework or gender responsive framework or women's empowerment or women's right framework. So by considering the complexity of the menstrual discrimination, we define the dignified menstruation as a decolonized, innovative, holistic, human right and life cycle approach for create an equal power relationship, dismantle the patriarchy, accelerate the inclusion. It is beyond the concept of the product, menstrual product or toilet or wash, and it is a very effective tool for preventing gender-based violence, including child marriage, promote sexual and reproductive health, and human rights. Is a cross-cutting issue, no matter where you are working, everywhere. If you are a doctor or nurses or agriculturalist or civil engineer or architect or working as a factory, everywhere, the dignified menstruation is most important and urgent. So let's examine the relationship with the child marriage. I remind you all, I gently request you all to think about the power construction, role of the menstrual discrimination in power construction. Global South Coalition had done a review of the policies of 3 countries on child marriage. First, Bangladesh, which has the highest child marriage rate in South Asia. Second, India, second highest rate of child marriage in South Asia, and Niger, which is the first country or the highest rate of the child marriage in Africa and globally. We reviewed their policies and also the network, government policies of child marriage and the networks, regional networks and global networks which are working for preventing or ending child marriage. So if you go through the very quickly, all 3 countries has a different religious background, context, topography, and in all countries we can see the different kinds of menstrual discrimination. And then, but they don't talk about the menstrual discrimination while talking about the ending child marriage. Let me share this slide first. In the bottom of the slide, you see during the menstruation, menstruators or girl has to wake up early in the morning than normal for her cleanliness or bathing or changing the menstrual pad or panty. And she could not drink, she limit for drinking water because there was no direct access with the water supply. water source, and also not available the facilities, the well ventilated locked toilet or the washroom, and she usually she has to wear double panty, double trouser, to prevent the leaking. And even she could not go to the school on time because she could not eat food at the same time, because she could not serve by herself. She has to wait the family members to serve the food. So even when she would in school, even in that case, would sit in the corner in a dark place, so the other friends could not see her blood in case of leaking. So this is how her learning or education is distracting or hinder, or menstrual practice, discriminatory menstrual practice is playing the barrier and interrupt her study for 5 days in a month. That means 2 months in a year. As a result, she failed in a class, dropped out from the school, and eventually she trapped with the child marriage. Here I like to remind you all, nowadays when the global community started to work on menstrual management or menstrual health, they only focus on the product. Oh, pre-distribution of the menstrual pad in a school. That's the solution. This is how the government, the politicians, and the NGOs articulating the idea. But that's not 100% true. Their whole 24-hour for 5 days was disturbed because of the discriminatory menstrual practices. She was stressed. She was busy to hiding it, to manage it, to prevent the leakage. No matter whether she is in school or home, she compromises her learning environment. So this is how her education is disturbed. Eventually, she failed. Once she failed on her dream, and sometimes forced marriage, sometimes volunteer marriage, sometimes they eloped. But nowadays people just blame to the Facebook or mobiles. Of course, it has a contribution, but it is really the nominal one. The most important thing, we don't build confidence among the menstruators since childhood. Since the age of 6, they started to know about menstruation. They were sick. They start to feel inferior, disadvantage, and later when they have a menarche, and their status, the mental status, the well-being, the confidence, the self-esteem, self-determination, which are the key indicators of the empowerment, is really down. So till now, from that research, we found that while talking about the drivers for the child marriage, see the list: the absence of or low education, poverty, harmful practice like female genital mutilation, tradition of the family honor, trafficking, displacement, inequitable social and gender norms, disasters, wars, or pandemics. But it doesn't say the menstrual discrimination is a driving force for the child marriage. And in the intervention side, our research found that they focus on the communities, families, policymakers, faith healers, providing the awareness program, livelihood activities, scholarship, cycles, insurance, and comprehensive sexual education or CSE, and legal and policy framework on child marriage. In implementation, intervention side, the dignified menstruation, the dialogue on dignified menstruation is missing. So you can see the gap. And Dr. Rinku, I like to remind you that you asked, you shared the link between menstrual discrimination and the child marriage. This is the perfect link, and this is the perfect gap. If you go through the history, the Sarda Act, which is the first legal framework in a history of the ending child marriage, and that was from India in 1929. So we and if you see the history of the UN, it is already 60 years. The UN community started to work around ending child marriage, but they are doing the same thing, and they never like to incorporate the menstrual discrimination as a driving force, and the dignified menstruation is a tool, as an approach to build the confidence of the both the girls and boys, because boys also have to understand how and why, how did they born in this planet. They need to hold the accountability because they born from the menstrual blood. That kind of, this is the truth, this is the open secret, but no one talk about it. So how to hold the accountability to end the child marriage? This is also the role of the boys. At the meantime, we need to build self-esteem, self-confidence among the menstruators or girls, so they can say no for the child marriage. Even they don't have an idea about their body, and they cannot say no for the menstrual discrimination. How could they say no for the child marriage? So here I like to share one idea which is very, very, very popular nowadays, while the global community started to work around climate justice. Earlier, like I would say like 15 years back, the people say, oh, there is a poverty, then this is how there is a food insecurity, and the girls forced to child marriage because they wanted to save the family, the parents wanted to save the food. See, there is no value of the girl child. That was the statement. And now, those who are working around climate justice or uh, climate justice for ending child marriage, they explain in that way. Oh, there was a drought because of the climate change, and it hits the poverty, and there is a food insecurity, and this is how the girls forced to marriage for saving the food. Same idea. They just include the one idea, drought or disaster because of the climate change or climate crisis. Otherwise, they don't try to identify the underlying cause and address it. So, Global South Coalition plays to everyone to think differently. What is missing? Missing is menstrual discrimination, because menstrual discrimination constructs the power and patriarchy. It has a systemic and symptomatic impact, and both are applied in case of the child marriage. So if we really like to reduce the number of the child marriage or forced marriage, we have to talk about the menstrual discrimination and talk about the dignified menstruation, so we can create the situation of win-win. We can reduce the violence, we can reduce the impact of the climate crisis. So that kind of dialogues we need, the global community need very urgently. I'm so tired by seeing the same thing, repeating the same idea. With this note, I stop here, and I like to take the questions.
Thank you, Radha, for this very insightful presentation. I really liked the how you compared the policies and the status of menstrual discrimination around the globe. And yes, you are very true that this is menstrual discrimination or dignified menstruation is missing in most of the child marriage, ending child marriage policies. Yes, you are absolutely right. It is very big gap. and what I have also learned from the field. So thank you very much, Radha. And now this we have an open session for question and answer. If you have any question or any comment or any discussion points, please write it down in chat bot. So we will discuss. We have around 15 minutes remaining before closing this session. So write it down in a chat bot.
Can you show the last slide? Why not? This is the last slide. Are you referring this one or this one? Dr. Rinku, can you read it if there is anything else? Because I could not.
Yeah. It's
I could not read.
Murlidhar, is it the same slide you are asking?
Or this one?
Oh, okay. So can we unmute the participants for a while? I don't know how to do it.
Lal will do it.
Yes,
If
yes.
they raise the hand, Lal will do the.
Yes. Now I am accessible. So can you show the some of the links you mentioned in the last slide after this?
Yes, but once I use the
Some of the links
slide,
you
it
showed
doesn't allow me to.
back next one. No, before that. This is the one, 31st slide. Yeah. This is the what are the area from YouTube and then Twitter and Instagram. Okay. Yes, from your website only. Okay.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Murlidhar. So if anybody have any question, please write it down in the chat box, or you may also raise your hand to discuss. How?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a
I
question.
see the question from Ratna Verma. He was asking, what are the key strategies to mainstream ministerial distinction in policies and practice? Yes, very, very, very good question. Thank you very much. Actually, based on the experience from Nepal, we have a separate policy on dignified mensuration, national policy on dignified mensuration in since 2017. We also have the menstrual law. And then the Gender Equality Act also incorporate the dignified mensuration. And we have a resolution motion on dignified mensuration, which appeal or which urge every institutions like health, education, agriculture, in all levels, federal, provincial, and municipal level, have to have the dignified mensuration friendly policy at their respective places. And for that, of course, we need to do the research. If there is no funding, we simply can do the case study from our participant, from our area of work, or if you are doing any project, like let's say agriculture project, even in the agriculture you can explore, you can develop the 10 questions, and then can ask the same way the meditation as I did in the beginning, and then you can ask what can you do, what cannot you do, and based on that evidences you can lobby and advocacy. But in India, you can get the information. There are so many studies has already done, but primarily they focus on the product, whether they have the product, menstrual product or not, what time, how many times they change, what is the price, what is the quality, that kind of things has done a lot in India, but it is not really address what kind of practices they have been practicing in terms of the touch, in terms of the seeing, in terms of the mobility, in terms of the understanding of the menstruation. That kind of things is really missing. India is far ahead in terms of the feminist movement, but that feminist movement is really missing the address the discrimination related to the menstruation, menopause, and then beyond, or life cycle because of the menstruation. So for in mainstreaming, depending on the context, your capacity, let's keep talking wherever you are. If you are at home or at office, if you've been using the social media, let's take a photo and then start to create the dialogue. The talk means is a dialogue. So we need a dialogue everywhere. I always share with the Dr. Rinku, no matter where you are working, in UN or the NGO or the as a clinician in a clinical doctor, let's keep talking. Let's make a poster and let's put the statement or picture in our place wherever you are.
Okay. So Radha, we have two questions in chat box right now. Can you read, or I should read it for you?
I read the in terms of the strategies in Nepal, challenges in Nepal, I have already mentioned there are so many types of challenges, funding challenges, the support from the politicians, the government, the NGOs. There are varieties of the challenges, but in any case, if you convince on dignified menstruation, you need to educate yourself first. You need to challenge first. You need to transform and you need to practice the dignified menstruation within yourself and within your family first, within your organization, and then let's incorporate the dignified menstruation into ongoing activities. Can I ask question in Hindi? Yes. If I don't understand, Dr. Rinku will translate. Yes, please feel free to write
you
or
you can
yes.
ask Dilip in Hindi. आप हिंदी में पूछ सकते हैं, but Radha, we have another question from Rehana in chat box. After we'll take Dilip question.
Rihanna, I don't see the question from Rihanna.
Rihanna is, how does stigma or lack of menstrual education contribute to early marriage?
Yeah, I have already shared the framework, because the menstrual discrimination between the age of 6 to 9 years of the both the girls and boys, they knew something about menstruation, and since they knew, primarily the girls have the feeling of insecurity, unsafe, unequal than the boys. And when they have the menstruation, first menstruation, that means it will take like a 5-6 years in gap. So when they grow up, they learn more discriminatory menstrual practices, and they feel more inferior, more disadvantaged. And when they have the first menstruation or menarche, and they feel more insecure, more disadvantaged, because they have to follow so many types of discrimination, including the silence. No one like to talk about it, the taboos, the stigma, signage, the restrictions, the abuses. So this is how she lose her confidence. She lose her confidence, and she cannot say no for the any marriage proposal. It could come from the parents or the boyfriend or anyone. So we don't teach globally. We don't teach how does their body, particularly the menstruation, works. We need to know the every organs, like brain, the kidney, everything would be great, but the menstruation has a significant play to exist this planet and moving forward, and no one can disagree with the essence of the menstruation. So that is why we need to have a talk on menstruation, and we need to make our menstruation dignified, no matter whether you menstruate or not, because you burn with the menstrual blood. That kind of things we need to make very clear and loud.
Okay, so Ravi, आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं माइक ओपन करके हिंदी में.
Dilip ji, please.
दिलीप जी, प्लीज. दिलीप, आप क्वेश्चन पूछना चाह रहे हैं? Okay, so I think there is some technical. Okay, so yes, what Rihanna asked and what Radha shared, it's a menstrual discrimination makes the girl more vulnerable, and there's no right to say no for anything. And when yeah, you can unmute yourself. आप unmute कर सकते हैं?
हाँ सर, अभी हो गया, अभी हो गया।
Please, please.
Actually, I am from the Gadchiroli is Maharashtra eastern part.
Yeah, Maharashtra.
Yes, which is adjoining border with the Telangana and Bastar side.
Yes.
Actually, when we're talking about the dignity and dignified menstruation, we have to think about the some bad practices which is inhuman customs are here. हमारे यहाँ गढ़चिरौली में जो माडिया कम्युनिटी है, जो प्रिमिटिव ट्राइब्स है, उसमें कुरमा नाम के एक कस्टम है। तो कुरमा नाम के कस्टम में कैसा होता है कि जैसे चौपाड़ी नेपाल में है, तो वहाँ मेंस्ट्रुएशन में आउटस्कर्ट्स में युवतियों को और महिलाओं को रहना पड़ता है, जितने भी दिन मेंसेस हो, 8 दिन, 10 दिन, 15 दिन, और वो गांव में नहीं आ सकती, गांव के रास्ते पे नहीं चल सकती, गांव से पानी नहीं ले सकती, गांव से खाना नहीं ले सकती, तो वो टोटल अनटचेबल होती है 8-10 दिन के लिए। हमने 2011 में जब सर्वे किया था, तब हमने 32 डेथ ऐसे आइडेंटिफाइड किए थे कि जिनको आसानी से बचाया जा सकता था। और अभी पिछले 6 महीने में एक आंगनवाड़ी सेविका जो साइंस ग्रेजुएट हो गई थी, उसका भी डेथ हो गया। तो हमें इस बारे में भी थोड़ा सा सोचना चाहिए कि ये कस्टम का इरेडिकेशन करने के लिए हम क्या क्या इफर्ट्स ले सकते हैं। पिछले 10 सालों से हम इस इशू के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जैसे गवर्नमेंट का कहना यह है कि भाई दिस इज अ वेरी डीप रूटेड कस्टम, जो उनके माइंड में है, तो हजारों सालों से चलती आई प्रथा है, तो हम इसके लिए कुछ नहीं कर सकते। तो हम अभी एक 50 गांवों में बीसीसी एक्टिविटीज को लेके धीरे धीरे हमारा काम चल रहा है। तो मैं ये जानना चाहता था कि ये कस्टम जो है, तो ये कस्टम के इरेडिकेशन के सिस्टम के लिए आपके तरफ से क्या इनपुट्स हो सकते हैं?
Thank you, Dilip. It is really the best question ever I have. First, the word of the Chaupadi is mensuration in local Nepali language. In Nepal, over 129 languages we have. So Chaupadi means the mensuration, not the practice. But in few places, not everywhere, few places, they live in different, anyway, no matter across the country, they separate it during the menstruation. Sometimes they separate in a corner, sometimes in a single house, sometimes small huts, it depending on the topography and the economics. First, so regarding the kurma, yes, I have worked with the religious leaders, faith healers for many years, and we need to engage. We cannot impose any idea. The dignified menstruation offer the choices. There are so many tools. We already developed the training manual, books for the children, the chapters for the schools from grade 1 to grade 10. So the kurma practice, the custom is very complex and deep rooted, and no one like to talk it. Even the government don't like to talk it. So we need to engage with the men, the boys, child clubs, youth club, the religious leaders, the politicians, and the government simultaneously at the same time. And we need to dialogue. We need to tell what does mean by the menstruation. It is a pure blood, clean blood. It's not the state of the weakness. And because of the menstruation, this universe is moving. So that kind of scientific knowledge we need to impart to these communities through the multiple channels. And then meantime, we also have a policies from the government. So from bottom up and top down, both approaches we need to apply. Actually, it needs a very long discussion. I encourage you to write back to us, and we can have the separate meeting regarding this. And this is how I encourage you to
Definitely.
join the 7th International Learning Conference in Nepal, where we will discuss that kind of things. How could we overcome that kind of practices, visible forms of discriminatory practice? How do we overcome in a course of the 30 years? That kind of things we will share. I encourage you to join it, and even if it is possible to visit Nepal, like by yourself, your friends, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Because we have a time, so this is how I pause here. Thank you, Dilip.
थैंक यू मैडम। मैंने एक बार विजिट, मैं ये सोच रहा था कि जैसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वर्डिक्ट आया था नेपाल में कि प्रैक्टिसिंग दी चौपाड़ी इज अ क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस।
Let's say menstrual
के बाद में क्या हुआ,
discrimination.
जब मैं
Let's
पीएलआई
not
करने
say
का सोच रहा था
chaupadi.
तब मैं गया
Let's
था।
say menstrual
Yes.
discrimination instead of the chaupadi. Chaupadi means menstruation. So it's
Okay,
not.
okay.
It's a mislead and misinterpretation and mislead by the
Misinterpreted.
donors
Okay, okay.
and the media.
Okay, okay. But
Unfortunately.
here the kurma practice means the girls who you have to compel to stay at the outskirts, and the kurma ghar means that hut, period hut. So है, आपने सही कहा कि ट्रेडिशनल फेथ लीडर्स, मेंस, यूथ के साथ जब तक हम सातत्यपूर्ण रूप से काम नहीं कर सकते, तब तक ये कस्टम से इजाद पाना काफी मुश्किल है। तो हम पिछले भी 10 सालों से इसी इश्यू पे काम कर रहे हैं, तो आपका काफी इनपुट्स हमें मिलेगा मैडम। थैंक यू
Yeah,
फॉर।
let's have a separate conversation, and let's have a
Yes, yes.
training either in your place or join that any international training while we
बिल्कुल।
organizing. Like last year we did in Sri Lanka. This year we plan in hopefully in Thailand. So you can join that kind of trainings, and
Yes,
you will get the
definitely. I will
many approaches, tools, how to deal with that
Okay.
kind of issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. So this is the end. We have our time is over, Radha. And thank you very much for this very insightful discussion. And I really would like to take another webinar on issues where we can discuss the child marriage in relation with dignified menstruation. I think the part 2 we can do in where Dilip and our community members like Dilip can join. It's very insightful. Yeah, Muralidhar, I'm from India. I'm from Jaipur, and thank you
Everyone.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Have a good day. Good evening.
Thank you, Radha madam.
Thank you, Rinko.
Thank you, Radha. Thank you very much.